Oh, guess I didn't. There. Welcome back to the Fanspeak Network. Wasn't sure if we were live, and we are. And we are live for another episode of Friends of Best Ball. And today I am joined by the great Tom Strachan. And today, of course, we're going to talk best ball and do a BBM5 together in just 1 minute. That's right, Friends of Best Ball every Friday. And today, my friend of Best Ball is the great Tom Strachan. Actually, what's fun is we started Friends of Best Ball last August. Tom was one of my first guests, and our team made the playoffs. So we're looking to run that back. Very excited about that. But no, I'm super excited to be joined by Tom today, talk a little best ball, do a BBM5 together. Tom, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing great. That intro got me really hyped. I think I must always end up tuning in like 4 or 5 minutes late in your streams because I've never clocked that before, but that's awesome. Got me right in the mood for drafting some kick-ass teams.
All right, the music's got you pumped up. I like it. Well, of course, you can find Tom's work at on the Fantasy Sanctuary. You've got just a ton of great content on your channel. I'm sure if you're watching, and by the way, if you're watching, please like this episode as you're coming in, and so make sure you're subscribed to the Fanspeak Network. But you probably are already subscribed to the Fantasy Sanctuary. But if you're not, you must be subscribed. You've got to get subscribed to the Fantasy Sanctuary because Tom puts out a ton of great content there. You're now doing live drafts with Tyler, who we have in chat, of course. Tom was my friend, or excuse me, Tyler was my friend of Best Ball a couple Fridays ago. So we're coming full circle here, which is nice. You do tons of great content there. Make sure you're following him there. And of course, follow him on Twitter at NFL_T-Strack. But tell me some of the stuff you guys are doing on the Fantasy Sanctuary.
I mean, this is just our time of year, isn't it, Megan? Like, you know, I enjoy the run up to the draft. I think there's loads of great stuff. And Rich, who I run the sanctuary with, he does all the dynasty stuff. So, like, for me, I kind of take a back seat then. But the moment the draft is over, that's it. It's just best ball season. Yeah. So Monday nights with Tyler, doing underdog drafts. Then on Wednesdays every week, I've got DraftKings drafts where I tend to try and find a guest for each of them. I've got a bunch of great names who've been on, who are coming on. And then on Tuesdays, I rotate back and forth between RotoViz's channel with Colin Kelly, where we also draft on DraftKings. But the thing which I'm trying to pump out as much as I can at the minute is the shorter videos. So we just put up video on elite tight ends a couple of weeks ago and why I really feel the value's there on them this year. Talked last week about quarterbacks, what it takes for pocket passes to combat dual threats. And then yesterday, launched the start of a new series of 10-minute roster reviews because not everybody's got time to sit down and watch our hour-long streams. And, you know, there's sickos like us, we'll sit and watch all day. But I thought, what if I can compact all that advice and all that thought process into 10 minutes? So going forward, I should have one of those a week on the channel. And, yeah, just whatever I can do to just keep putting more best ball content out until drafts close.
Oh, well, your best ball content is elite. I know I've watched a lot of videos that you mentioned recently, and I was a late tight end girl last year and still do like trying to find those 3 late round tight end gems. I know our draft that we did together, you just read me part of the lineup and we were able to hit on a Dak Ferguson, got Ferguson late last year. So I still like that, but you and some others in the industry, but especially your videos, convinced me that I do need to mix in some more elite tight end builds. So, I mean, we won't force anything today, but maybe we'll get an elite tight end build. But I watched that video and that video was just amazing, by the way. So
yeah. It's much appreciated. No, I mean, that was one where I just leaned on a lot of other people's research and just added my spin on top of it. So anytime you get to take when somebody else has done the hard work and when it's really resonated with you and then explain why it resonates with you, I think that's always a great thing to be doing.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, no, I again recommend checking out all Tom's content. We usually ask people about their favorite strategies. Is that kind of your favorite strategy this year? Is like elite quarterback, elite tight end?
Yeah, I've done a lot of that. I mean, I'm trying not to just end up drafting 0 RB in every draft at the minute because it's really hard not to. And I really like all the top 4 running backs. I think they're great, and they should all be very much in play for hero RB builds.
Yeah.
But I'm doing them less because the first round wide receivers are so good. And
Yeah.
then what I've completely not done is barely any dual running back starts. And even, I think it's really tricky to do at the minute, but I do think, if you can land on CMC and Kyron Williams, and if Kyron Williams is back out there already training, like the ankle injury isn't a problem. And that's potentially the top 2 running backs from last year that you can pair in one team. But I haven't been able to land that and then make it work in a team that I feel confident in. So, yeah, I'm still trying to decide exactly what I want to do, but predominantly it'll be zero running back, which allows me to get those elite tight ends and quarterback a lot of the time.
Right. And I always say this in my shows and in any content is, I mean, obviously diversify your portfolio for strategies too, because we don't know what strategy is going to truly work in the end. So it's good to mix in different strategies for sure. So and that's why I like, reading all the different research from guys like you and Hayden Winks and Peter Overzet and, all the great content that everybody in this industry is putting out. And that's what's so fun about best ball right now is there's a lot of good content being cranked out and a lot of fun streams to watch. So hopefully we can create a fun stream today. Tom, do you still have the draft pulled up of the draft we did last year together?
Yeah, so we had.
I don't know if you wanted to read it to put any pressure on us to try to run this back.
So we had Dak Prescott stacked with Brandon Cooks and Jake Ferguson. We had Geno Smith stacked with Tyler Lockett and Zach Charbonnet.
Okay.
With Jordan Love unstacked, but a bit of week 17 correlation in there. Our running back room was Ramondre Stevenson, James Conner, Zach Charbonnet, Raheem Mostert, who absolutely dominated in that room, really carried it. And then Ty Chandler, who obviously had a couple of nice weeks towards the end.
Yeah.
Wide receivers, we went Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown. And so we must have been picking around the turn.
Yeah.
And it just feels like, if we'd had CD Lamb,
right.
I think that this would have been a really dangerous team. We had Deebo Samuel, George Pickens, Lockett, Cooks, Michael
Oh my God,
Wilson.
I didn't realize we had Pickens too, Tom, in the semifinals. If we could have pushed that thing through to the semifinals with Pickens, and there was another one that went Mostert and some of the
And then at tight end, we did have Jake Ferguson. Outside of that, though, we got barely any points. We had Gerald Everett and Cole Turner, who I remember we had a fairly decent conversation about hoping he could turn into something.
That was my fault. That one was totally my fault.
Hey, I was there as well. I was in on it.
Well, I will totally take the L on that. So we've got Andrew and Chad, part of the Fanspeak team, saying good morning. And let's not forget Tom, and most importantly, a mental health advocate. To appreciate you, sir. We all appreciate you, Tom. So, any other, besides elite tight end, elite quarterback, obviously some zero RB, any other big landscape, like best ball landscape changes you're seeing at this point in June that you're really trying to kind of make a note of?
So the area which I'm really interested in, and an area which I'm going to talk about in a future video once I get time at some point, it's the round 9 to 12 running backs, that kind of area of the draft. We've seen over the course of years how many league winners come out of there, whether you're going back further to James Conner, Leonard Fournette, Ramondre Stevenson. There's been a bunch of players over the last few years, Rashad White.
Right.
Last year, I'm kind of, even Raheem Mostert for a period was kind of not too far off it. Devon Achan was very much in that area.
Yeah.
So, that's an area of the draft where I think we've just seen time and time again, there's ambiguity in those players, and it's there for a reason. But I want to be taking shots, and I want to be finding guys who I feel confident on, but at the very least being balanced on guys. I don't want to fade any of the running backs too much in that zone, because we've seen the way I kind of feel about it, it's like that's the opportunity zone. Those running backs are all good enough that if they get a clear opportunity, they could go massive, because they're not necessarily, the most talented players, and there's some of them that are in difficult backfields. But like, if Tony Pollard goes down injured, Tajay Spears really could be the kind of guy that we need next year.
Right.
So that's an area where, as I'm building my teams, quite often I'm thinking, okay, Well, I don't need to take a running back here because I'm going to take 2, maybe 3 in those rounds sometimes, depending on what's going on with my quarterback or tight end position.
Okay. Well, I look forward to doing a draft with you and watching these decisions play out. I'm going to pull over Underdog right now, and then we will jump in to a draft. If anybody in chat wants to jump in with us, feel free. I am pulling up BBM now, so I am clicking to see if we can get into a room, see how many we've got here. We're waiting on 5, so if you're in the chat, feel free to join us. I was going to say, I always ask Tom their favorite sleeper before we get started. Do you have a favorite sleeper this year, like 16th through 18th type round or 15th through 18th type round in here?
So somebody asked me that on Twitter earlier today, and I was trying to decide where I land on that at a minute, because earlier in the offseason it was Demarcus Robinson, and then he kind of got a bit of steam up, and it was like, right, okay, well, if he's going to be everybody's favorite sleeper, I don't know. And then I was in on Jalen Tolbert for a little while.
I've been in on him. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I just think he kind of showed enough last year. He outplayed Michael Gallup. He was outproducing him in a variety of stats. And then you look at what the Cowboys have done this offseason. They've added nobody apart from, nobody. It's literally nobody. And then a wide receiver, they need somebody to stand up because of the way they like to play. Brandon Cooks was kind of fine last year, but, he's getting on. He's definitely no spring chicken. So
right.
I'm definitely kind of happy to take shots on Jalen Tolbert. I know he's not done a huge amount for his career, but at the cost he is associated with Dak, I'm fine taking that gamble.
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot, so I'm glad to hear you say that. He's been one of my favorite, definitely later round clicks, especially for receiver, and especially if I have Dak or something that correlates. So, it looks like we're about to start here. We do have Andrew. He's on the Fanspeak team. Every time he does a show, he gets the 12 spot. So we'll see if that works out again for him.
I've been on a bit of a hot streak with the early picks over the last week or so. Every draft I've done this week, I've been between the 1 and the 3. So let's see.
Still seeing waiting. I was like, do I need to refresh my computer? What's going on? Let me make sure on my phone this isn't like going or something. The fun technical issues, Okay, it's still saying draft starts soon on my phone. I was just making sure.
It's going to be one of those situations where Underdog's gone down and...
I was going to say, Andrew's having the same problem. I was like, okay, good. It's not just a me problem because I've had plenty of tech issues lately.
How many BBMs are you at, Megan?
This is 20 for me. So I've kind of waded in slowly. And I'm trying to this year, Tom, my biggest thing that I wouldn't say stand or biggest thing I'm trying to be mindful of context selection. Sorry. I mean, the coffee has not hit yet. Sorry. So what I'm trying to be very mindful of is contest selection outside of BBM, right? So obviously doing a lot of BBM streamed and then some on my own, but outside of that, I'm trying to scoop literally every single entry, 3 max, 5 max, those great advanced rate tournaments on Underdog. I think we're finally starting, Andrew, because Andrew is having the same issues. Like, what is going on here? So let me pull up the board. But it looks like we got the nice spot, and Andrew is not in the 1 spot. So he's in the 5. If you are in chat and you're in here, let us know. I don't think I see anybody else. I don't know if you see anybody that Tom. But yeah, so basically, I'm trying to scoop every single single entry, 3 max, 5 max, those great advanced rates. The Underdog has been releasing them a lot lately, and I just absolutely love those because I think one issue I made last year is I really only did like basically the BBM and the puppies, or the BBM and the puppies and the Chihuahua, and I just didn't focus on advance rate. And when I went back and looked, it's like, well, I just didn't have really many tournaments that I was in or contests that I was in where I had that, opportunity where if you make the playoffs, and my advance rate was really strong, it was 27%, but then you make the playoffs and, the last year the BBM was a gauntlet. This year it's much, much, much better. So I'm happy about that. But, even it being better, it's still a lotto. And so the other tournaments, I love those, like 1 of 6, 1 of 5, 1 of 4, those kind of stuff. Are you trying to be mindful of that in tournament selection on DraftKings?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, DraftKings is just like a stagnant pond at the minute. They kind of messed up a bit of a contest sizing and overestimated how quick some stuff would fill. So doing a lot of doing the $20 milli makers on stream and doing a few off stream, but generally I think July and August I'm just planning on really hammering things a lot more. Then at the minute I'm probably going to soon start pivoting over to FFPC and getting the Superflex streets over there.
Right. And so I was going to say, well, first of all, we are coming up, and then we are at 9. Amon-Ra just went. So we've got Brees Hall just went, and we are on the clock with Puka, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson. I absolutely am obsessed with Garrett Wilson, but we could run back our AJ Brown or, of course, go Puka. What are your thoughts here, Tom?
Let's go Garrett Wilson, because I haven't clicked Garrett Wilson that much yet, and if you're feeling strong on Garrett Wilson, that's good enough for me.
Okay, I'm just, I think he looks so talented, so amazing with horrible quarterbacks. So if Aaron Rodgers.
Is that me or is that you, Megan? Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, we're back. Okay. I was going to say we're up in 6 picks. So we better cue stuff just in case. So we have, of course, the receivers on the board, that around the turn, I'm not sure that like a Drake London will come back to us. No. So we're 2 away. We've got Olave, Ayuk, Devontae Adams, Debo, and then Gibbs, Taylor, Barkley. What do you think?
If Gibbs made it back to us, I'd take that value.
That's a value. Yeah.
In the second round is well worth it. But if he doesn't, then it's probably going to be one of the wide receivers. And
who do you like best out of Olave, Ayuk, Devontae, Debo?
I mean, I'm a Debo guy, but
I'm a Debo girl too.
Yeah,
he was in our lineup last year. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't mind, because obviously.
Well, yeah, Gibbs did just go, so it is kind of down to these receivers, unless you wanted to take Barkley.
Well, let's build out a Debo, Garrett Wilson team, because there's probably a lot less of them than if we went with Olave or Ayuk. And I think when you get stuck towards the turns, I'm always looking for ways to get a little bit different than some of those teams. But I like that. I think for me, Debo Samuel should just be going ahead of Ayuk in general. He outperformed him in virtually everything last year, and I know the film bros have plenty of reason to like Ayuk.
Right.
But the ways that Debo wins are so integral to what the Niners do that if he's on the Niners, then I think he is the wide receiver to own. And if he's not on the Niners, I don't really have any qualms about taking him this high anyway.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I have Debo ranked ahead of Ayuk, and so I feel the exact same way. And it's a little throwback to last year's lineup, so I don't mind that. But to continue my thoughts, because again, the coffee has not hit yet, so I did not succinctly say that. I'm just trying to really watch advance rates this year, and I just absolutely love what Underdog's doing with dropping so many of those. I know, unfortunately, you cannot do them over there, but that's why you can luckily stream with us and me and Tyler and others here and get some Underdog action. But that's why you're talking about FFPC and DraftKings. But DraftKings does have some single entry 3 max, and that's the ones you might wait till later in the summer, like July, August, to do more of those.
Well, that's it, because they're quite big contests in terms of how many people can enter them versus how many entries you can have. There's just no inclination to draft it now, when if it's going to take 6 weeks to fill,
because it's not a time box tournament then, essentially. Right.
Exactly. Those people who fill it in 4 or 5 weeks time are going to have so much more information, and it's just something that they've not been able to crack in the same way that Underdog could post any contest at any price point, and it'll pretty much have some buzz about it. I mean, they're the people's platform. They deserve the buzz. They deserve the people to do it. They've just got it down, and they've got their audience. But DraftKings, it seems much more that you need to offer 20 max, 150 max contests in order to keep a good flow of them going.
Right. Let's take a look at the board, see what's going on. So we obviously did Garrett Wilson, Debo Samuel. I do think that's a different combination. I like that. Andrew did Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, got Barkley all the way to fall to 20. So I like that value. And then obviously coming around after Debo went Olave, Ayuk, Devontae Adams, Barkley, Evans, Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore around the turn, Devonta Smith. And then we'll be coming up. So speaking of the elite tight ends, and let's talk about that now as we kind of come into the range where we might consider some in the next few rounds. Who are your favorite elite tight end clicks at price, I guess?
Well, I was trying not to be incredibly biased about Mark Andrews being a Ravens fan, but it just seems like
great value, though.
Yeah, and it just seems like everybody's smart. You know, every piece of content I listen to, all the people whose voices I respect are very much in on Mark Andrews at cost. Yep. Trey McBride, I really like. I think you look back at what he did last year, he only had 3 touchdowns, yet he's still absolutely crushed. It's not hard to imagine a world where that offense is just better this year. Trey McBride finds his way into the end zone. And at the tight end position, we're only really looking for like 6 touchdowns. 6 touchdowns to 8 touchdowns generally is enough to really help the top guys stay in the top 3 or 4. Like last year, Sam Laporta had 9, but virtually every other top end tight end was around 6 or 7. And if you regressed Sam Laporta down to 6 touchdowns, he would have dropped to the tight end 4 in points per game. So yeah.
Well, Sam Laporta just went. Sorry, let me scroll that down. Sam Laporta did just go. I do think he's a little expensive. I agree. I think Mark Andrews is the best at cost. At 33 on the board, at the top of the board, we have Kyren Williams, Derrick Henry, Cooper Kupp, Josh Allen. I mean, Zay Flowers. He's not one of them. I know you love Ravens. I feel like he's a little overpriced. I like that Mark Andrews click a lot better. Jalen Hurts and then Kelsey. So who would be your click here? We just went on the clock.
I was going to say Kyren Williams, but like Cooper Kupp for me, when you look at the stats when both him and Puka were on the field together, Cooper Kupp was still balling out. Like, he started the season slow, but I have no qualms thinking that Cooper Kupp could have another very good season. Maybe not the likes of what he has had in the past, but to pay off 3rd round cost, fully in on that.
Yeah, 33. I like that a lot. We'll be back up at 39, I believe. And excuse me, at that point, you know, it seems to be better to get like the Lamar Mark Andrews stack. I'm talking to a Ravens fan, of course, in that like when you're in the early part of the round. But you know, if you're interested in taking, you know, a quarterback here, I have no problems with that. Or setting up like some kind of quarterback tight end stack in the next couple of rounds, no problems with that. But I know in particular, Lamar Andrews works best kind of when you're at the earlier in the turn. But yeah, at pick 40. Do you have any thoughts? I mean, if Josh Allen's still there, that's a lot of value. You have Derrick Henry on the board. You have Zay Flowers, Travis Kelce, ETN, T Higgins, and Lamar then.
I mean, I've been building out a lot of these kind of teams where we end up on one of these early stacks. So I think there's a good bit of value around on the board at the minute, but in terms of wide receiver, who's there after Zay Flowers? We've got T Higgins.
Flowers, it's Flowers, Higgins, Pickens, Cooper is the receivers. And then you do have some falling value on Henry and Allen. So, and Higgins, Kelsey, Higgins. So the last 3 picks were Hurts, Kelsey, Higgins, and we're up in 2.
So I think what we've gotten at the minute is really nice because all 3 of the quarterbacks we'd want aren't coming up for a bit. Sorry, in terms of if we want to stack them.
Right.
So maybe we just keep building it that way and keep giving ourselves potential outs or build a kind of super wide receiver room.
Sure, I'm fine with that. The only thing I'll say is, do you like the Josh Allen, Dalton Kincaid stack from the whole elite tight end thing? Because that may work when we come back, but I'm not sure.
That's a good shout. What's Kincaid?
50. We'd be back up at 57, so he'd have to fall. So. But we do have Derrick Henry and Allen that have fallen, but I'm also fine if you did want to do a receiver. So we are on the clock. What are your thoughts?
Well, let's go Josh Allen and see if Kincaid makes it back around. I think, if he doesn't, then we can always look
You're
at
fine
King
with that? Okay. I don't want to
Yeah.
bully you into that. I just can't believe he fell back here, in the fourth round. I mean, you do see it, especially because he doesn't have an early stacking partner that, you do see him fall sometimes more than the others. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty elite start to have Josh Allen and those three receivers, Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp. And then I will go ahead and just keep an eye on Q, Dalton Kincaid. Not sure he'll make it back to 58, I believe, so 57. But there's a chance. And if so, that would be, falling value on both of them would be really nice.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's kind of how I want to take Josh Allen this year. Like, I'm struggling to pay up at cost for him unless he starts to fall, because it just feels a bit like, with that wide receiver room, he's definitely going to have some touchdown regression from the 15 rushing touchdowns that he scored last year.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm struggling to pay it, but I don't dislike it at all.
Okay, we got a Fantasy Garage in chat, GM. Yes, I think I lost my stream for a minute. I'm glad to be back. Tyler says hello to the Fantasy Football Garage. Thank you guys all for jumping in chat. And we have Andrew taking your guy, Lamar, TD King at 5. Maybe he gets Lamar, Mark Andrews. Again, I think that 1 to 5 pick, that's where that Lamar Andrews can work at the 4-5 turn. Have you done a good bit of that so far?
Yeah, I have, and I've managed to land 2 teams so far out of maybe 40 where I've ended up with Zay Flowers, Lamar, and Mark Andrews, and that just feels phenomenal when you can get onto that. I think then it's really about how you follow it up and build the team around there.
Sure, right, yeah.
But yeah, Lamar and Andrews is probably I've been I've definitely been clicking a good bit of Zay Flowers, Lamar, and Andrews at the top of drafts. I think where they come into play.
Dalton Kincaid went at 49, unfortunately. Yeah, and Andrew, we had Mark Andrews go at 52. Obviously, it does not. It's correlated to Nico Collins. So
makes sense.
Yeah. So it is correlated, but that's a bummer for Andrew. I'm sorry, but we got tight end run. We got Kincaid, Andrews, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts. That's early for Pitts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we could always look at George Kittle, maybe not on this pick, but the next.
I was just going to say that's probably a really good idea.
Teams in 11 and 12 have both got tight end already, so we probably, if it makes it to us, it's probably only one team that would be in play.
Right. Yeah, and Andrew was frustrated with his snipe. I would have loved for Dalton Kincaid to make it back, but I think there's other ways. Yeah, if we could get a Kittle and then set up a Purdy later, that would be a nice combo with Allen, I think, for sure. So yeah, it went a little run there. Kincaid, Andrews, Pitts, Amari Cooper, and then Andrew took Hollywood Brown, Keenan Allen, Jaden Reed, and we are back up in 1. We'll be up at 57 and 64. So receivers on the board are worthy. I'm obsessed with Ridley. Not sure your thoughts on him. Adunze, Chris Godwin, running backs, James Cook, Rashad White, Joe Mixon. What are your thoughts here up in 1? Who do you like?
I mean, we could take James Cook and stack him with Josh Allen. I don't hate that. In terms of wide receiver, I'm DeAndre Hopkins over Calvin Ridley.
Oh, you're DeAndre Hopkins. Okay. We can wait there. Any of these wide receivers you like?
I like Rome Odunze, but I think I'll probably just go with James Cook.
Go James Cook. Okay,
feels fine to me.
Let's go ahead and do that. And then let's keep an eye on Kittle as well. I'm a Cure. I'm the star method.
It's definitely not a bad method to be on.
Like to keep an eye and watch it. So yeah, like you mentioned, that does kind of go right in Kittle's range. So I'm totally fine with that if Kittle comes back to us. And kind of goes with your video you just put out, and Kittle has been the kind of the playoff hero the last year or two.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I select Kittle, I just assume it's going to have to be a 3 tight end build now, because he really does go missing at times. But his spike weeks are so big that I think it's justified to be taking him. So yeah, I don't mind Kittle. I was more out on him last year because the previous year so much of his fantasy points came from touchdowns alone. But last year he had some much bigger games where he was getting volume where it wasn't just touchdowns. So if he makes it to us, I'd be fine.
No one has ever been caught by the star method. That's hysterical. Yeah, Kittle +2 very late tight ends. And we could get one of my favorite late tight ends. I don't know how you feel about Jatavion Sanders. He's my favorite late round tight end click. Don't expect any Sam Laporta like massive season, but he has the same path to be tight end 1 for the Panthers this year. So that's why I like him a lot. And you get him basically 17th round. So
yeah, he was Rich's tight end 2 in our dynasty rookie guide, and he was rather upset that he fell to where he did. But yeah, George Kittle.
We're going to say go Kittle, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Why not?
I like that we're just building out some nice team correlation with Allen Cook and obviously Debo Kittle, and then San Francisco Rams play. I believe we have some playoff overlap. I don't have it fully memorized yet. I have charts up on fanspeak.com, and this is probably a good time to tell you that we have plenty of content, free content on fanspeak.com. If you don't like ads, you can subscribe to Ultimate GM for just $19.95 for the year. But plenty of free content, multiple articles every week on fanspeak.com. We'll soon have some things behind the Ultimate GM fun paywall. And of course, here on the Fanspeak Network, we're doing 4 to 5 live drafts every week and plenty of good strategy shows. Check out the live draft and some strategy that Andrew and Justin did a show last night with a fun guest. And then Steve and I just did a strategy show after our live draft 2 days ago, talking about the new offensive coordinator changes and how that can, look for your best ball decisions. I mean, last year, if you were high on Bobby Slowick and the Texans, that was probably pretty good because you're getting them undervalued. And a lot of these offensive coordinator changes are coming on teams like the Titans or the Panthers, where then you're getting some value. And I really like that. So Steve dropped a wealth of knowledge that I think is going to help people with that. So be sure to check all that out. So, okay, nothing. So yeah, we went Kittle, and then it went Godwin, McConkey, Stroud at 57. Andrew took your guy DeAndre Hopkins, then JSN, Joe Mixon, and coming around the corner. So
I just if you're in on Ridley, because I just don't get why Ridley's going ahead of DeAndre Hopkins, apart from the fact that DeAndre Hopkins is slightly older.
I think it's probably the youth of Ridley, and then like some coach speak about being able to use them like Chase, and I think he had some just bad variance on some touchdowns. We saw how many touchdowns were like out by this much, so his stats would have looked wildly different, had things broken literally inches differently. So I think it's a lot of those factors. And I am just you're in on Hopkins, but I'm very high on the Tennessee offense as like an undervalued offense.
Oh, massively so. And I think you could see it coming too, because Will Levis is just fun for fantasy. It's either deep shot or he dumps it off to running backs. He does have a bit of rushing upside, which maybe we see more of this year. But in general, he ticks so many boxes for fantasy. I think the one thing I'm kind of slightly nervous about is if the secondary is better in Tennessee this year, because last year they were just atrocious.
Oh yeah, they've always the last couple of years have been kind of like a pass funnel, right? Yeah. So okay, we are up in 1 at pick 81. And on the board, we have Kamara, Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson at the top of the running backs, and Rashee Rice, Courtland Sutton, Curtis Samuel, and Tyler Lockett at the top of the receivers. What are you thinking here?
How are you on Rashee Rice?
I haven't taken much of him, so I mean, I've usually wait for him to fall. If he falls, I take him. But I mean, I'm trying to do different stuff in streams. So whatever you're most interested in here, I'm going 10 seconds. So it's
running back.
Yep.
Let's take Aaron Jones. He's fallen 7 picks past ADP. Yeah. That's probably the more sensible one. I mean, I would have preferred to have maybe gotten another wide receiver by this point. But yeah, you're right about Rashee Rice. He is starting to fall. I think after the Chiefs signed Mecole Hardman again yesterday, it's just been the latest worry to people that the suspension is looming. So, yeah.
Well, so we'll be back up in just a couple, 5 more picks, and let's look at the receivers again, so we don't fall too far behind here. Courtland Sutton,
Samuel would be
Samuel. Okay, well, obviously that correlates. Yeah. Who's your between Samuel, Keon Coleman, Shakir, do you have a favorite one at cost?
Yeah, so Curtis Samuel's the one for me who
Okay.
I really like. I mean, you look at what the Bills had last year. They had, in terms of burst score, which measures like how fast team players get from the line of scrimmage within the first 2 yards of a route. Sorry. The Bills were like 29th across the league, and Curtis Samuel was like the third fastest player in that measurement. So
Okay.
I think one of the reasons they brought him in is because he's fast, because he's going to generate speed quickly and separate. And I think generally that's been a big emphasis from this year. But Curtis Samuel, he's got familiarity with the coaches. He's always earned targets at a reasonable rate. And, if you can stack him with Josh Allen, it just feels like maybe we're not getting the Cole Beasley type days where you just get the slot points constantly, but it definitely works for me.
Tom, we're building out my favorite type of team stack. I love just correlating teams, and I love being able to correlate at different positions because usually, I mean, bills are still expensive enough where you still have to pay, it's not like you're getting Titans prices on them to spread it out. But I usually like it because you can usually spread it out across the draft, your draft capital. But, still was able to spread it out a decent bit and got Josh Allen, James Cook, Curtis Samuel, and oh no, I'm sorry, we didn't get Dalton Kincaid. I lied, but that's okay. That is my favorite team stack. Again, coffee has not hit yet. I apologize, but no, that is my favorite team stack when you can kind of hit all those different positions. We weren't able to get Kincaid, but we got quarterback, running back, receiver, and I do like that.
Yeah, and we're correlating all of this with Garrett Wilson as well, which if the Jets are going to be good this year and Garrett Wilson's going to pay off his cost, then I'd like to think that despite the Jets having a good defense, that we could have a fun game in Week 17.
Exactly. Yeah. I was going to say, I'm still trying to memorize. Again, check out fanspeak.com under the Best Ball headquarters. We have a playoff hub. I have a couple articles with charts for the weather. I'm not trying to predict weather, but shows the dome games, the California, the games, the Florida games, and then the high totals, a chart with that, any chart totals like above 46, I've kind of marked either yellow or green, just the early look ahead totals, kind of just something to keep in mind as far as looking at the playoff schedule. So I'm trying to memorize that, but I was going to say in our team with Rams and 49ers and Jets, I believe there's some overlap there too. Actually, I'm going to pull up the chart just to see, because I do believe there's some overlap in 15 and 16 of some of those.
Yeah, Rams play the Niners in Week 15, so that should be a nice boost. I mean, we're talking about
that's what
1 of 16 that we're looking to get through in the
playoffs? That's what's nicer this year. Obviously they made the payout so much flatter, which is so nice. But then it's 1 of 13 in quarters to semis, whereas last year is 1 of 16, 1 of 16. This year it's 1 of 13 to get to semifinals, and then 1 of 16 to get to finals. So like that. Excuse me. That's nice to have some Week 15 and 16 correlation mixed in, especially when it kind of happens naturally. Let me check in the chat. Tom's what's Tyler says, Tom will urge you to push QB2 as long as possible. Justifiably, Purdy has also been falling quite a lot in rooms. I usually push the 3 quarterback, but with Allen, I won't push the 3 quarterback on you, Tom. So I won't push anything. We'll see who push pulls here and what happens. I just think once you've gone elite quarterback, just pushing the second quarterback just makes too much sense. And if it doesn't fall to you, you can find something later on. There's so many backdoor stacks that we can get into. We've got a lot of great backdoor stacks with, Rodgers and Stafford and stuff that is already built in too. So I'm with you as much as I do like taking Purdy, but I don't think in this situation we have plenty of other, with gaining elite quarterback, I don't think we have to force Purdy. So let's taking a look at the board. We went Samuel, Andrew at 5 went Tony Pollard, got a little bit of that Tennessee, DeAndre Swift, Warren, Kyler Murray, Raheem Mostert, Caleb Williams, James Conner, Brock Bowers, Mike Williams, Trey Benson coming around in the 9th round. We'll be up at pick 105 in about 3 picks. So a lot of quarterbacks on the board. That's something we're probably not looking at right now, as you said. So running backs are Javonte Williams, Devin Singletary, Brian Robinson, and then probably want to get more action receivers. We've got Romeo Doubs, Shakir, who I know correlates, but I do love Shaheed, but I will totally leave it up to you. Further down, that's a little further down. I like Josh Palmer, but what are your thoughts on receiver or anything on the board?
Yeah, I really like Shaheed. I think for me that'd be a really good pick. I think in terms of what we've given ourselves as a wide receiver room, we've got some really high upside talent who are going to see a lot of volume. But adding Shaheed to that gives us somebody for that big play threat who, if one of those guys isn't delivering in a way, perhaps if Shaheed can give us the 70-yard touchdown that we know he's kind of got in his bag, then that makes plenty of sense and gets up to 5 wide receivers before we hit round 10, which feels kind of like the minimum you want to be at, really.
Exactly, kind of the pacing. Yeah, I've listened to, your videos and Pete Overzet's videos and tried to that's what's nice is you can do whatever you build you want. You just kind of got to stick with that pacing so you don't fall too far behind. And through, let's see, it looks like 9 rounds. We have 1, 2, 5, 1. So I like that situation where we're at, and we are up in 5. So, I mean, I don't know if you'd want to take Purdy there, or if again you want to wait. I'm fine either way. The running backs on the board here are Singletary, Brian Robinson. You mentioned Tajay Spears, and then Gus Edwards is another one that I have clicked quite often this draft season. Kind of know the other receivers. I mean, I like Josh Palmer a little further down, and then I think we can wait on tight end a little bit, but.
I think like the running backs, the 3 running backs, I do like all 3 of them. But
I'm just going to put him in the queue and then.
I think I'd be tempted to just take Purdy and just get that done and see. I know it'll be right about ADP, but I think then if we've got Purdy, would you feel confident in that just being a 2 QB room?
Yeah, I could do that. I'm capable of it. Because usually I do spread out the capital. For instance, if I were to do a 3 quarterback room here, I probably would do, okay, so let's go ahead and grab Purdy. And he did come a little under ADP after ADP, kind of as Tyler mentioned. It's not like we had to reach for it or anything. So that's nice. We did 2, 2, 5, 1, Allen, Purdy, James Cook, Aaron Jones, Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, Curtis Samuel, Rashid Shaheed, and George Kittle to start. Really do like that start a lot. Yeah, no, I do like doing the 3 quarterbacks a lot, but in a situation, I am cognizant of the total draft capital spent, right? So like in this situation, if I did Allen, I probably would have waited till I'm just giving an example, Rodgers. And if we would have had a Tennessee stack, like a Levis or like a Rodgers and Bryce Young backstacked with, my favorite guy, JT Sanders, something like that along those lines. So then I'm not spending too much total on the capital. But I like the Purdy, and it's good, like I said, to mix up different builds too. So
yeah, that's definitely one of the best benefits of doing streams like this. You find yourself on teams you wouldn't
exactly
do, so.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I like that is one of my favorite things of Friends of Best Ball and doing these streams with other content creators is mixing up different strategies, player takes, all that good stuff. So Tyler, we got him to take Purdy. I like our team. This is good stuff. Let's see. So where are you on Ingram? Do you consider him in the elite tight end range?
I don't consider him an elite tight end, but I consider him the last tight end capable of giving you 100 yards in one game. And maybe that extends down to David Njoku, but we haven't seen that with David Njoku and Deshaun Watson, whereas Evan Ingram, he's one of a few tight ends who has had those 100-yard games.
Right.
And when that happens, it just separates so much. It doesn't even matter whether you're kind of, obviously you'd ideally want 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, but 100 yards is so much compared to the vast majority of tight ends who are putting up 38, 39 yards in a given week on 4 catches. And you're like, oh, great, I got 9 points out of this guy. And you're just like,
right.
Whereas Ingram, so for me, Ingram's kind of one of those players that I'm not going to be overweight on massively, but if I can sit right around 8 to 10%, I'll feel quite happy, because in general, it feels like the Jags are being undervalued this year. They had an up and down year last year after having an up and down year the year before, but I really like where they're at, I don't think the defenses in VFC South are particularly scary. So I'm happy to take shots on them. And I do like Brian Thomas.
Oh, yeah. No, I like Brian Thomas a lot, for sure. Absolutely. I was looking at the playoff schedule, and yes, obviously we have the Jets that have just getting Garrett Wilson. It correlates with the Rams on week 16, Buffalo week 17. So yeah, Buffalo right now we have we don't have any Detroit or New England, but we have the Jets correlation for week 17, and then San Francisco, of course, plays the Rams week 15. So yeah, I've already built in some other playoff correlation, including the week 17 Bills Jets, which is nice. So coming up in round 11 here, I'm guessing, is this where you're looking to, well, I guess with the way we have things set up, just a combination of filling out more running backs and receivers. At least we did get that 5 before the total cliff, but I guess looking at running back and receivers, these next 2 picks.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if there's a tight end that stands out to you, I'm open to it. But for me, yeah, I don't mind Dalton Schultz. I think he could have some really good spike weeks. But in terms of running backs, is there anyone you like here?
Let's see. I mean, Elliott's gross, but he works at Ford. What are your thoughts?
Jerome Ford. I like Jerome Ford. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say Elliott and Ford are kind of the ones I go with there, because I obviously backed off early in the season. I was more hopeful for Nick Chubb, but I backed off that recently. So yeah, I've gone to Ford more too, and I want to get more Ford shares as well. So I'm glad we took Ford there. So we'll be up in 6. Yeah. So still have 3 running backs, 2, 3, 5, 1. Would you look at running back again, or would you grab another receiver here likely?
Yeah.
Or if you want to do Dalton Schultz, I'm fine with that. It's whatever is your preference.
Let's stick with the late round tight end for George Kittle. It probably makes more sense. But yeah, running back or wide receiver for me. What have we got? Wide receiver.
Okay, so top of the board, not my favorite receivers. At the very top, we got Leggett, Quentin Johnson, some of the more raw guys. Then you got Parasol, who's does correlate to 49ers, but a little bit more buried. Then you have Polk and Mooney and Burton. So a lot of guys I like a little further down, but not sure your thoughts there. And then running back, obviously Chubb, Charbonnet, Rico Dow, and Kendre Miller.
So 2 for me would be either Charbonnet or Kendre Miller. I think Charbonnet kind of flashed at points last year, and I definitely think, if something happens to Kenneth Walker, you're talking about an every week top 24 running back. And then Kendre Miller, it just seems like it's this steady drumbeat of news coming out of OTAs, the Saints in general, that they expect him to take a step forward this year, and not being injured, they're hoping that he can really grab the bull by the horns and run with it.
They made the decision for us. Sean Dev ahead of us picked Charbonnet. So are you fine with Kendre Miller here, or is there anybody else on the board that you would rather have?
No, I'm good with Kendre.
Okay. Yeah, that gets us a 4th running back too before it gets a little thin. So then we're working with a 2, 4, 5, 1 right now. And let me bring the board back up. And obviously that's through 12 rounds, because that was the 11-12 turn. We got Ford and Kendre Miller. So yeah, I like that, building out that running back room, since we only had 2 kind of to start. So yeah, I like that. And it kind of speaks to our Kendre Miller pick and our Shaheed pick. Well, first of all, that correlates obviously, but you also talked about Charbonnet. Check out again the video. It was episode 68, offensive coaching coordinator changes, and kind of what offenses we really like in best ball. And 2 of Steve's top 5, spoiler alert, still watch it. 2 of Steve's top 5 were the Saints and the Seahawks. So they were 2 of the top 5 coordinator changes that could really improve those offenses from last year. So I like that we were looking at those offenses. So yeah, and Andrew says Ford, want to hit the most mispriced players, and I know he's trying to scoop a lot of Ford shares and has scooped a lot of Ford shares. I need to scoop more, so I'm glad we were able to get him.
Yeah, for me, Ford should be going inside the top 100 easily, and Nick Chubb should be going around the 140 range. Like the 140 to 150 range is where that's the earliest I would consider taking Nick Chubb, TJ Hawkinson, any of these kind of
The
guys who
injured guy,
really,
yeah,
the ones coming back from pretty bad injuries. So for now, those are just two guys I'll just keep passing over as much as I like them both.
Yeah, it's again at the beginning of draft season, I was not as much Hawkinson, but Chubb. I was just trying to be hopeful. Well, what if I get a Nick Chubb, whatever after pick 100 or whatever? And now the realization is set in, and I need to. I've adjusted it mentally where I'm starting to take more forward, not taking Chubb, but I need to also adjust my rankings probably even further too. So a little run on quarterbacks in the last couple of rounds. Obviously, a lot of good ones still go in these rounds 10 through 12. We got Purdy, and then we saw Tua, Lawrence, Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins all go in these last couple rounds. In this last turn, Andrew got Gabe Davis and Marshawn Lloyd. Lloyd's another running back I've been trying to take more of in the last week or two. What's your take on him and some of these running backs in that RB2, these young running backs in the RB2 situation, like Marshawn Lloyd, Corum? There's the Jets one we just drafted with Steve yesterday, Braylon Allen. Any thoughts on these running backs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're guys who I'm massively hopeful on. I like taking them. I like mixing them in. I think that it's a good range in the draft to be taking rookies, but I kind of have tempered expectations for them. I find Ty Chandler an easy click, for example. Whereas
he's one of my favorites. So we are on the board. You have Pierce at the top of the board. Roman Wilson's been one of my favorite clicks in this range. At tight end, you have Hunter Henry, who a little over 4 ADP, one of my favorite clicks. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm in on Roman Wilson. I think he's gonna.
Oh, good. Okay, I love Roman Wilson.
I think he can thrive in an Arthur Smith offense, which I know is like the most dumb thing to say in some ways, but with Russell Wilson, somebody who definitely wants to go deep, but isn't necessarily capable of going deep so much. Like last year, he checked down at the highest rate of any quarterback in the league,
right?
And a bunch of passes were like right behind the line of scrimmage or forward. So to me, it's Jaylen Warren and Roman Wilson who I'm the most interested in Pittsburgh, because I think that all the easy stuff is just going to go to them. I mean, Roman Wilson should be a near every down player from day one.
Right.
We're getting him on a team that historically has done very well at
receiver. Yeah.
Yeah. So why would I ignore him? Like, to me, yes, he didn't do a huge amount in college, but that was very much a Michigan thing and a Jim Harbaugh thing rather than a Roman Wilson thing. Because every time you watched tape of McCarthy, the player who seems to be catching the touchdowns was Roman Wilson. So
right. I think he's going to slide right into that Deontay Johnson role. So I love it. A lot of running backs on the top of the board. If you wanted to grab another one, you have Algier Gibson, Kamani Vidal, Jaleel McLaughlin, and then receiver, we've got Thielen, Bateman, Corley, Mims. Then you're getting a little further down. And then tight ends, we have Juwan Johnson, another New Orleans, if you wanted to further correlate there. So who do you like best? We just went on the clock with our 14th.
I mean, I'm taking Rashad Bateman a lot in this range because the OTAs hype, the camp hype, the even back to the NFL Combine and the post playoff press conferences, they've consistently said that they believe Bateman could take a step, that he was getting open at times last year. He just wasn't on the same page with Lamar. And that's because he just hasn't had an offseason which has been injury-free. Even last year, he was still recovering from the Liz Frank injury, dealing with soreness in his foot and screws that were, issues. Whereas this year, he's healthy, he's out there, everybody says he looks good. Maybe he never turns into the kind of guy that we all hoped he could be when he came out of college and he was a first-round pick. But we don't really need him to be when we're drafting him in the 14th round. We just need him to be the third option on one of the best offenses in the league. Like, I'm good with that.
No, 100% agree. I've been taking Bateman. I think I did like the Michael Scott gif. I'm ready to get hurt again with Rashad Bateman, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's that, or it's for GTA 1. Oh shit, here we go again, and you just
Yeah. So
it's
Andrew was eyeing him up. So he said, "Damn you, we got Bateman." I'm drafting with the Ravens fan, so we got the inside information. I like it. No, I've been taking plenty of Bateman, and I like that a lot. I just feel like Zay is a little too Flowers is just a little too expensive for me. If I'm paying for the passing game, it's been Andrews. And then I like paying down. And I've even taken shots. Have you taken shots on Dontavious Walker? If I don't know if I pronounced that right, but Walker, the rookie.
Yeah, I've been taking shots on him more so in the 20-round formats
Yeah.
because it's slightly easier click. But I
Sure.
think he's going to be quite raw. You go back and watch Drake May tape last year when we were playing together, and Devonta's definitely looked quite a raw player. He didn't have a full route tree. He didn't have like the most polished breaks in and out of things. But he's a deep threat and he's a big body player. And Eric DeCosta, the Ravens GM, talked about how Lamar came to him and John Harbaugh and said, "We need a big-bodied wide receiver
Oh,
who's a
okay.
deep threat." So
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't
So they
work
got
out.
him on his wish list. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't make the field enough to really be relevant, and he ends up one of these kind of players like Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who might pop up for a big play here and there, but it's a 50-yard play and a touchdown, but that's all you've got, and he's only just scraping into your flex. So
Right.
I'm fine taking shots on those guys, and I think once we get into the past round 14, you want a mix of rookies, you want a mix of guys who could be something that we don't know, unless you've built really fragile, and then you need some guys who are just going to get on base.
Right. And yeah, Andrew talked about the rookie running backs. If you're using them as like the 3, 4, 5, later, that's when I'm more comfortable, obviously, as well. So absolutely. We are coming up again soon. In 3 picks, we are up. We have a 2, 4, 7, 1. How do you see this team being? Do you think it'll be like a 2, 6, 8, or do you think we'll go 2 or 3 tight ends? I guess, do you think we need to get another running back here, or do you think we'll end up with 6 running backs?
So what have we got a running back at the minute?
So running back, yeah. So it's Alan Purdy, James Cook, Aaron Jones, Jerome Ford, Kendre Miller. I could see it be a 6 running back room, or do you think it's fine at 5?
Well, what's on the board for us?
Yeah,
running
let's see.
backs-wise?
So it's Khalil Herbert, J.K. Dobbins, Rashawn Johnson, and Damian Pierce.
So I've been drafting a good bit of Khalil Herbert. I think that he's dynamic enough to be better than DeAndre Swift in Chicago, and probably the easiest for him to move on from. So he's most likely could land elsewhere. So
yeah,
I like Khalil Herbert. And
Are you fine taking him here?
Yeah,
it's right around his ADP, and it gets us, a 5th solid one, gives us some optionality. We are going to be up in 6. If there's any other running backs, feel free to queue up. Our receiver room is Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, Curtis Samuel, Rashid Shaheed, Roman Wilson, Rashad Bateman. So we have 7 there, and then of course the 1 tight end. So the receivers at the top of the board, we have Javon Baker, Demario Douglas, Demarcus Robinson, who we mentioned at the top of the show, Zay Jones, Jalen Tolbert, who we mentioned at the top of the show. I'll just throw those in the queue since we talked about them. And then tight ends at the top of the board, you have Tyler Conklin, Noah Fant, Chig, Jonnu, Gasecki, and JT Sanders farther down. So what do you like here?
We could take Tyler Conklin if he gets to us, because that's another one for that Week 17 Buffalo Jets game, which again,
you're getting some nice falling value on him too. He's been falling, and I just think he's so solid.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's maybe not the sexiest game on paper, but it still has an implied team totals odd for Buffalo of 24 currently, and the Jets are projected to hit 21.5. So you're talking what, 45.5 over under. Right. Obviously, we're miles out, and so much can change by then.
Sure.
If we got to Week 17 and I was getting a game over 45 points, I'd be fairly happy with that for a team stack, because
could be with AFC's implications on the line. No, I like that. And so that gives us Kittle Conklin. Is that something that you typically feel comfortable with too, or would you go 3 tight ends there?
I think I'd probably go 3, but we can probably leave. if we use our round 17 pick to fill out whatever position it is we feel needs it the most, and then come back in round 18 and see if your boy JT's there.
There we go. Hopefully JT Sanders is a better call than my Cole Turner last year. That was not good. Though I did have 50% Sam Laporta. So I did make some really good late round tight end decisions. Cole Turner was not one of them. But I did make some bad late round tight end decisions like Cole Turner.
I definitely took more Cole Turner than was strictly necessary. I've just pulled it up here. See, he got 23 PPR points last year.
Yeah, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. I was shocked. I thought, well, first of all, I didn't necessarily anticipate, Logan Thomas to stay healthy. And, I just thought
that was the big part of it for me. I thought Logan Thomas was toast.
Yeah. And so he kind of wasn't, but I mean, he wasn't anything necessarily special either. So yeah, you just wanted to ignore the Washington tight end situation in general. So that was a little mistake there. Who was other late round busts for me? Because I'll gladly take the victory lap, but I'll take my L's too. Victory lap on Sam Laporta, Jake Ferguson. I don't know if I had a ton of Trey McBride, but yeah, I definitely had some good late round tight ends. The guy I like this year, for Hunter Henry, he was solid last year, but definitely had plenty of L's like Cole Turner and Gerald Everett crushed me last year. I took way too
Gerald
much
Everett.
That was brutal.
20% Gerald Everett. I mean, I kind of redeemed myself. I had 20% Cooper Kupp. Really thought he was going to smash up until, and then the hamstring killed me. Had a lot of Bateman, had a lot of J.K. Dobbins, and 2 quarters into that game against the Texans in week 1, I thought J.K. Dobbins is going to go nuclear this year and then tears his Achilles.
It was brutal, I know.
But I had a good bit of Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua because I was so heavy in on the Rams being undervalued last year. So I kind of
and sometimes that's when team correlation pays off, right? Is you're just heavy on a team and then you get exposure to the right guys.
And I just did not believe in Tutu Atwell, so that was an easy one to just pivot from.
Right. Okay, so we are back up here in the next 3. So you're saying take best running back or receiver here?
Yeah, I think so. I think that makes sense.
We do still have Tolbert on the board. Let me check the running backs. I know I mentioned Braylon Allen earlier. I don't mind Tank Bigsby. I'll just put them all in the queue. Any other receivers that you like? It's Chark, Jalen McMillan, Darius Slayton, Odell Beckham, Rondell Moore.
Not really. One player, and it's Tyler who's got me onto this at running back, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, I've gotten more onto that too for like a late round.
Yeah, it's just one of those where there really is nobody else apart from Louis Rees-Zammit who is going to be a special teams player. He's an ex-rugby player. He's there on the International Pathway Program as a free roster spot. So unless they bring someone else in, I'm not worried about it at all. I think CH definitely has a path, and Tyler's just slowly broken me down over the period of the last month to the point where now I'm just clicking.
What do you think here at 201? Tolbert falling value, or do we go CEH here?
Do either of them give us any kind of correlation? So we've got
you've got a skinny CEH
Roman Wilson. Yeah, maybe let's break it that way.
Okay.
We don't have any.
I do think the running back room's a little thinner than the receiver room. The receiver room feels really strong to me overall, with Wilson, Debo, Kupp, Curtis Samuel, Rashid Shaheed, Roman Wilson, Rashad Bateman. Because I mean, our first 3 were very strong, and then I just think we hit strong on the middle and late ones too. So, there's a chance that Tolbert comes back to us. If not, let's see what is available. You do have Jonnu and Sanders there. I'd be fine either way. Honestly, again, I feel comfortable with the receiver room, but if you saw I don't mind Slayton either. If you saw a receiver or we felt like we're getting so much value on Tolbert, I don't mind that either. So
no, I think structurally the tight end room makes the most sense. If we're going 2 quarterbacks, then unless we've got a real elite tight end, and I think George Kittle can still give us elite weeks, but I don't think he is a true elite tight end anymore. So yeah, I think the tight end taking a stab on either Jatavian Sanders or Jonnu Smith makes most sense. But like,
well, I'll let you pick. Obviously, guest pick. I won't force Jim my player takes down and make you take anybody. No, it's totally up to you. I don't think there's bye week issues with either. No bye week issues with either Kittle or Conklin for Sanders or Smith.
Well, I'm going to choose Jatavian Sanders because I refuse, knowing how smart you are, Megan, I refuse to believe that you'll pick the wrong late round tight end 2 years in a row. And it's going to be.
I hurt you bad last year with my Cole Turner, and you're trusting me. You're trusting me to run it back with the last round tight end.
Hey, you were heavy on Sam Laporta, so that's good enough for me. I think.
Okay. Thank you.
Works.
Thank you for letting me victory lap on Sam Laporta. Yes, and I was the whole draft season, and that has been, maybe it's because I wanted, speaking of Washington tight ends, I really wanted Washington to draft Sanders. I don't watch a ton of college football during the season, but obviously Texas being so good, I watched them a little bit. And knowing I wanted Washington to draft a tight end, I really wanted Sanders. So maybe there's a little there, but then I just felt like he fell into that perfect situation of who's in front of him, Tommy Tremble, and I forget the other guy's name now. It's Tremble, Ian Thomas, It's like nobody's scared of that. Nobody. And then there was that, I love Coach Speak Index, I know you do too, about how they have a tight end friendly offense. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then you're getting them for free here at the end of the draft.
Yeah. And it's new, man. It's new coaching staff as well. So it's like they've got no ties to Tommy Tremble or Ian Thomas, whereas they've drafted Jatavian Sanders. Like they're trying to surround Bryce Young with pass catchers and make his life easier. And Jatavian Sanders can absolutely do that. He's an athletic freak.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I was looking, I did research on some articles I've written about Sanders, and a couple, I did a short video, but NFL's networks, Lance Zierlein compared him to David Njoku in his write-up. I know Steve said, the crazy thing about like the Ben Sinnott's team was, it was pretty widely, and Steve obviously does a lot of, draft work and draft rankings and everything. And so, with our on the clock mock draft simulator, we were able to see a lot of the different big boards from around the industry. And Sanders was the consensus number 2. It just happened to be that Sinnott was the better fit for Washington. And I'm fine with that from a Washington perspective, but from a fantasy perspective, just because Sanders fell to the 4th round, I'm not mad about. Don't think that I think that just gives us an opportunity to get a value. So hopefully I redeem my Cole Turner with Jatavian Sanders this year. But let's read our team, and then of course I want to look at Andrew's team. So we ended up going 2, 6, 7, 3. I am glad that we built out our running back room a little bit more. We did Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, James Cook, Aaron Jones, Jerome Ford, Kendra Miller, Khalil Herbert, CEH, which could call by you and Tyler. And then we have Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, Curtis Samuel, Rashid Shaheed, Roman Wilson, Rashad Bateman, and then tight ends, George Kittle, Tyler Conklin, Jatavian Sanders. I like that we kind of got one in the like early mid, like kind of the end and towards the end of the elite range with Kittle, and then 2 very late tight ends. So what do you think overall, Tom?
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, obviously we're big on Buffalo, New York Jets as a game, which is going to give us some value, but then we've got a couple of little mini correlations. Yep. I like the build of a team. Yes, the running back room isn't the strongest, but we've kind of built around that. We've got a really nice receiver room. We've got a really nice quarterback room with no questions. And then we've got a tight end room that balances nicely. So we don't need our running back room to be stars. We just need 1 or 2 of them to really have good seasons above expectations. And then, I think it's a good team.
Yeah, like you said, there's the big week 17 correlation with Bills, Jets, but there is some like other smaller correlations week 15 and 16 with like 49ers, Rams, and Jets, 49ers, I believe, in week 16 maybe. So there's some nice other little correlation, a mini with CEH, Roman Wilson. So you got some other little mini correlations built in there too. So I like that. No, I'm really happy with this team overall. That was fun, Tom. Let me check. Let's take a look at Andrew's team. TD King, he was from the 5 position. He did a 2, 6, 7, 3 as well. So he did he got your guy, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Saquon Barkley got some nice falling value there. Tony Pollard, Trey Benson, Marshawn Lloyd, Jaleel McLaughlin, Roshan Johnson, and then receivers Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Keon Coleman, Gabe Davis, Vontaze Walker, Luke Musgrave, Kate Otten, and Theo Johnson, I'm assuming was his last pick. Obviously now could be the tight end in New York. So no, I like this team a lot. Obviously, who did he get with Lawrence? Looks like Gabe Davis, I believe.
Yeah, he's got the DeAndre Hopkins bring back on week 17 on that one.
DeAndre Hopkins. So. I was going to say, I thought there was a bring back there as well. And then obviously then, yes, Lamar got late with, but that's the thing. The nice thing with Lamar is I don't think you have to, force stacks too with the rushing quarterbacks as well, or force any early stacks. If you get a late stack, I think that's fine with a Lamar team.
Yeah, absolutely, and particularly because if Trevor Lawrence is going off, he's going off because his pass catches are going off, and likely the game environment's going. So I think it balances nicely.
Right. Yeah. And no, just like his receiver room a lot. So no, I like Andrew's draft a lot. Yeah, that was fun. Andrew says, nice team, guys. He mentioned earlier, Levis went off the board before Rodgers, Watson, Smith. So that's interesting. I've been taking a ton of Levis. I'm huge on the Titans. But not that high. Yeah. But no, this was a lot of fun. Any final thoughts for what do you got coming up content wise? Next week, obviously it's Friday.
So let's see. Next week we've got Monday stream. Myself and Tyler. That's 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll be on. Then Tuesday and Wednesday DraftKings streams. Tuesday with Colin Kelly of RotoViz. Wednesday, I think it's Justin Herzig joining me next week.
Nice.
So yeah, big week. Got a couple of other little dynasty videos and best ball videos coming through the week as well. So yeah, we'll just keep rolling and keep enjoying this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're cranking out the content. It's amazing. Again, be sure to follow at NFL_T-Strack on Twitter. And then, of course, the Fantasy Sanctuary link is in the YouTube description. It's definitely a must follow. Tom, that was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We really appreciate it. And again, on Fanspeak Network, we've got 4 to 5 live drafts every single week. And, of course, check out our content on fanspeak.com because there'll be multiple articles every single week, strategy, player takes, playoff, implications, you name it, we got it. So this has been fun for Tom. I'm Meg, and we will see you next time.